GM. Today's lesson, I'm going to talk about cognitive dissonance. It's a mental bias that affects all of us. It will lead to bad decision making. It will lead to stress. It will lead to anxiety in a trade. It leads to a whole bunch of bad things that can lead you to lose money. So what is it? You've probably heard of it, some of you maybe. Cognitive dissonance it's the mental discomfort that you feel whenever you hold two or more beliefs that don't match, right? Whenever your different worldviews contradict, you have cognitive dissonance. So an example of this in the market is when your analysis tells you to go long, and then you go long, but then the market goes down. That's when you experience cognitive dissonance. Because in your head, you've got your first belief, which is that the market should be bullish, so it should be going up. But then the reality is that the market's not going up, it's going down. So the real world data, right, the chart, is telling you that it's going down, but your belief is that it should be going up. And the problem is, as a trader, our beliefs are the things that override everything if we don't take control of them. Because you spend all this time planning your trade, backtesting the system, setting it all up, waiting for your entry trigger, getting in, and then it goes wrong. And as soon as you get into a trade, whether it's long or short, you immediately become biased towards that direction. And bad traders, what they do is they get into a long and then it goes down. And instead of reassessing and saying, am I wrong? They'll go and look for confirmatory data. They'll actively seek what's known as confirmation bias. So they'll go looking for bullish analysis, bullish indicators, bullish chart patterns, whatever, to try and convince themselves to stay in. Bullish news, anything. All right? So if you find, and you're going to find this is not an if, this is a when. But whenever you find that you're seeing conflicting data, you have to understand that you're going to hold on to losing positions too long. You're going to justify your choices, your bias, against any evidence that's coming towards you. And you have to recognize and manage this. So we all know this. We know the feeling. I guarantee you know the feeling. Especially if you put your opinion out there. If you talk in the chats and you're talking to a fellow student and you say that I think Solana's bullish or Ethereum's bearish or whatever, you then your ego is then attached because you want to be right. But the market's not about being right. It's about making money. And the number one way to actually make money is to not lose money. If you just don't lose money and you don't lose too much when you're wrong, you'll stand a better chance of actually making it in the future. It doesn't mean never lose. It does mean have rigid rules for why you get in and why you get out. So 2 things that will help you manage cognitive dissonance. Super important. First one, you know what I'm going to say, journaling, reviewing, reflecting. It's so important. You have to, every single day, review your day. And if you traded on that day, you must review the trades. You must analyze the reasons behind your trade, first of all, before you get in. You have to analyze how you behaved in the trade, and you have to analyze how you behaved when you close the trade. This will help you identify where cognitive dissonances come in. A really common example is I held on too long. Okay, so I got in at 40k, I was supposed to cut at 39. I didn't cut it at 39, I ended up cutting it at 38.5. That is an example of cognitive dissonance. You didn't close when you're supposed to close because you had conflicting beliefs. You had the market telling you were wrong, but you had your ego telling you, no, it's going to turn. That's cognitive dissonance. So just mark it down and don't beat yourself up. You're not a bad person. You're not a terrible trader. You're not doomed to fail. You just fell victim to a very common psychological flaw that's in every one of us. Another one would be that you didn't take profit. This is so common. This isn't just about losing. In fact, it happens, especially in a bull market, it happens way more on the upside. So you're holding a coin, it goes up. Great. You're in a trade, you're long, it goes up. Excellent, you're making money. But then when do you get out? Right, you have your rule. Okay, I'm going to wait for a market structure break. But then the market structure break comes along and you convince yourself, I'll get out on the next bounce. Or, no, I don't think that was actually a bearish market structure break. That was just a trap for bears. That was to try and make people panic. It was a shakeout. It was a dip. Whatever. I'm going to stay long. Whatever these rationalizations are, they're all just part of cognitive dissonance. And that's why you have to fall back to your systems. You have to trust your systems and just listen to them. Your system cannot make emotional decisions. You can. It's not about whether the system's always going to be right or wrong. Every system is going to have winners and losers. Just like if you fucking toss a coin or you go and play blackjack or spin roulette, if you do any gambling, you know it's a game of chance. You know it might win, it might lose. The system is no different, except if you test the system rigorously, you can actually know that it should yield positive expectancy over time. So you have to listen to it, you have to follow it, and you have to establish super clear exit rules. Getting in is fine. Cognitive dissonance does not affect you before you get in. Because when you line the trade up, everything's fine. You buy because it's had a bullish setup, whatever it is. You sell because it's got a bearish setup. Okay, cool. But when you're in that trade, you have to have strict rules for exiting the trade, including your stop loss and your take profit. So have those two in place. Have your regular reviews, trade reviews, and have your exit rules and have them fixed. So by doing both of those, it's going to put you in a position where you act more rationally and you don't start clouding your bias into every trade. And another good thing to do is to question yourself at each point and say, why do I want to take this trade? And give reasons. If it's just purely technical, cool. But quite often, it's not. This is where a bit of self-reflection comes in. If you're super keen to get long a cash, AKT, because you see everyone in the campus making money, you might go and find a bullish setup. Oh, here it's bounced off the EMA, or it's done a hammer bullish candle. You'll go and find some bullish reason to get in, but that's not actually a system. That's you using your bias because you already want to get in to go and buy it. But have you actually considered the trade? Have you considered the bullish and the bearish outcome? Have you considered the trend? All the things you need to consider. So it can also affect you within any trade. It can affect you within investments. It can affect you in any part of the market. So for that part, it's really important to question yourself super hard and say, why do I want to be in this trade? Why am I buying? Am I buying because of sound reasoning? Like I've tracked this project for 2 months. I've read the white paper. I've studied the tokenomics. I know when the unlocks are coming. I've checked the chart. I've tracked it. I've waited for a weekly market structure break. I've waited for a higher high and a higher low to form. There's a narrative coming up around this coin in this sector. Right? Have you actually thought it out like that? Is it well thought out? Or is it just, I'm feeling FOMO, but I'm going to convince myself that it's a good trade because it's got one bullish technical thing. Right? You can't just overlay some bullish chart pattern as an excuse for essentially making a FOMO trade. All of these flaws fall under the category of cognitive dissonance. So if you want to research more, go and study it. Just Google it, ChatGPT it. Cognitive dissonance. It's one of the most, if not the most, common biases that affects traders, where you get in and immediately your bias, your ego, your emotions are at odds with what the market's actually saying. So keep it in check, and it'll, if you can get it under control, and you can. I did it. Wasn't always able to do it, but I've managed to do it. All good traders are able to control it. It doesn't mean they never make a mistake, but they recognize it early. They cut that trade, get out, and then they learn from it and they don't make that mistake again.